morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. My name is Romain Tranchant. I'm the chair of the Innovation Committee, and here to take you through the development that the Innovation Committee has had over the last few months. It is my pleasure to come back for the second Innovation Unwrapped session this year. Those sessions are the time to reflect on what we've been able to do and also what's coming up and your place to play within the Innovation Committee. We'll have some super guest stars coming in talking about the world of innovations and some specific types of activities that are taking place. And with that said, I think it's time to get started. As usual, you have the comments sections on your right-hand side, so feel free to enable that if you want to say hello to everybody, say where you're from. After all, this is the iMasons community, so we're more than happy to actually share and communicate through this. If you've got any questions as we go through the presentation and the updates, please feel free to put them on. And I will be monitoring the different questions coming through, and we can actually take them on board as we give you the updates. The session today, unfortunately, has got a few slides. Not really my preference, but to make sure everything goes according to plans, we're going to be bringing on a few slides for you. The point of today is threefold. First of all, it has been already 4 months since we had the first Innovation Unwrapped. We have done a lot of work based on the promises that we made back in January, and we want to tell you exactly what's been going on and what you now have access to. We want to make sure that you actually know where to engage and how to engage with the committee. And also, and more importantly, we want to tell you what's coming up. There is still a lot more things going on, some really exciting things in the coming months, and we want to make sure that you're well aware of the upcoming activities. So the agenda today will be split into 3 parts. First of all, let's have a look at the last quarter. We're going to take you through the incubator platform. We're going to take you through our thought leaderships and different sessions. We're going to take you through what the working groups have been up to and what they've actually delivered so far. We're going to have a fireside chat with Angela Chan, who's the founder at Hackathons International. It's going to be an excellent discussion. Angela has been working in the world of innovation for a long time, so I really want to get her impressions on where innovation is within the world of data centers, and we're going to talk through some of the activities that she's been doing very recently. Then we're going to take a turn to look at what's coming up. There are still a lot of activities, a lot of opportunities for engaging, meeting people, and so on. I want to make sure that you can find your place where you fit in, and really the topics that best fit for you. And then before the end, you'll know exactly how to get involved. We'll share with you where to start, what to do, and so that way you will know exactly how to get into each of the activities and how to interact with the committee. So let's get right into it. Well, first of all, since the beginning of the year, we've had 49 more active participants across the working groups, the incubator, and the different activities. It doesn't look like much, but let me tell you, the groups are active. They're very active. There is people coming every 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks to the different meetings that we do, and that makes a difference. It's been great to see people actually creating connections outside of the working groups, which is exactly what those working groups are there for, and also sharing all of their inputs. When we accumulate all of the sessions that we've been having, we have 25 live sessions under our belt. We looked at the different working groups, our thought leadership, our AI to Great working group, and the incubator working group, as well as the meet the startups, our thought leadership sessions, and our Innovation Unwrapped sessions. More or less, we've got also 12 papers and podcasts that we've been able to publish. We'll tell you a bit later exactly where to get all of this. but it's been incredible to see all the members come together and actually share all of their input, and our ability to condense all of that for others to learn, reuse, grow, and then connect. So I'm sharing with you the numbers because they're great and they can be better. We want more people to come and get involved, and this is what we're going to be talking about today. So let's talk about the deliverables from the working groups. Two key deliverables have been written and delivered in the first quarter. First of all, our thought leadership has worked really hard to identify the 6 key trade-offs that the industry is still facing to this day. The trade-offs will be some of them that you know already, such as we use water or do we use power? Do we innovate quickly or do we maintain the lowest risk possible? Do we build at speed by making decisions very early or delay decisions as the build process go on? And there is a few more trade-offs in this document. This is very important for us. The trade-offs are really where we want to see innovation flourish, because innovation enables us to find optimal points on those trade-offs, better ways of actually either removing or minimizing those trade-offs. So that document is going to become the base for a number of activities that you're going to see in Q2 and Q3. The AI to grid data center, AI data centers to grid working group is working and putting a lexicon together. And the first meetings were realized that we were all talking different languages. We had different approaches to how AI data centers connect to the grid. And so we decided to, at the first point of call, put a lexicon together. That lexicon really explains the different aspects of AI data centers, aspects of the grid, different issues, different opportunities that the two groups, or the two sides of the interface are either facing or experiencing. And so that document is great to be able to have a very high level of connection. Those documents are actually available through the Forge platform under the innovation working groups. If you don't know where it is, what we're going to do is we're going to share links with you later. And if you still can't find it, then we'll give you ways to get to it anyway. Okay. Next, thought leadership and podcast. That's been a very interesting one for me. We've had a number of panels that we've been able to publish. Our speakers have generously allowed us to actually put that content available for all to see. And so you can find it directly on your favorite podcast app by looking for iMasons Innovation Podcast, and you'll see actually the different elements that are going on. We've been able to go through some of the startups and what they've got to say about the innovation they bring to market. Some of our elite members that are bringing thought leadership to the market, different ways of addressing different types of issues, as well as very interesting technologies. It's a great mixed bag of different things. We know it's not like everything will be for everybody, but have a look through the last 2 years of different podcasts that we've put together. There are some terrific topics in there, and I'm pretty sure you're going to find some treasures in there. We continue to actually publish podcasts in there, and I'll come back on some of the topics later. But the idea is that anything that we produce actually ends up there. So if you're not subscribed, or if you want to actually have everything as and when this is actually published, please actually go and subscribe to those feeds. This is a great way of keeping up to date with the topics that we deliver. Last but not least, the incubator has been running full steam ahead. Since the beginning of the year, we had 18 startups that have actually applied to be part of the incubator. We've already run 5 assessment sessions. Those sessions are really there for members to give feedback on the startups that have applied before we actually get them in the incubator and we start supporting them. Through the 5 sessions, we've seen a lot of different innovations, a lot of different approaches, some of them in closer to financing for GPUs, to cooling optimization, power optimization, some software deliverables, cost controls, you name it. It was actually in there. You can see in there that, and I'm going to bring that to full screen so you can see it better. There is a variety of startups applying to the incubator, and that is excellent. This is exactly what we want. We line them up to the trade-offs and key industry issues that are reported throughout iMasons to make sure that they're actually valuable to support. But all of them have had something to say and something to bring to the table. And so we're now moving them through the next stages. We've offered 4 spaces. 2 of them have already accepted. You will know their names in the coming weeks as we finalize their onboarding and we explain what they do and how we can support them, especially in identifying and refining the problem statements that they're solving for and the solutions that they're trying to build. So again, the working group has been in great support of this. They've helped us assess the startups, review how we do the assessments and how the incubator supports the startups, shape how the processes that we run internally to support all of this is actually working. And also, some of the members have already connected with some of the startups, which is great to see. It's fantastic to actually see the connections. Guest speakers, Rudolf Gordon-Seymour, to actually come and talk about the impact that iMasons has within EMEA and parts of APAC, and also the link to iMasons. So I'm going to bring in Rudolf straight away. Good morning, Rudolf. How are you?
Morning, Romain. I'm well. Thank you very much. And thanks for inviting me to this session this morning. Great job for running the innovation initiatives, and welcome to everyone who has joined this session from EMEA and APAC.
It's such as you know, and you've been very close to the innovation committee for a long while. So it's really my pleasure to have you on the call this morning. To get us started, so tell me a bit more about your role. So you're leading EMEA and APAC for Infrastructure Masons. What excites you the most about the momentum and engagements you're seeing across these regions right now?
Well, I mean, I think firstly we've seen huge growth in the last 12 to 24 months in our engagement from across the board, really, from partners, from our individual members, and in the last year from the startup community, which is quite exciting. So there's been a lot of kind of enthusiastic participation, in the working groups, the innovation committee side, all the podcasts that you've been running, and the startup kind of pitch competitions, which obviously we call the Dragon's Den, which have kind of been a fun way of bringing innovation to the forefront, and giving a platform to those kind of small organizations coming into the industry. And it's really exciting seeing all this, new tech kind of being brought into the ecosystem. And now, of course, we have, the kind of global time zone coverage, which basically means EMEA, APAC members can have kind of equal participation, like we're doing today, and it kind of just feels like there's a real buzz around innovation, and it's not just about competitive advantage. It's kind of a survival requirement in an industry where we're seeing huge growth in AI and HPC, and both these things kind of colliding, I guess, with aging power grids and challenging kind of carbon neutrality targets. So there's a lot to play for right now, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's been very interesting to engage with the partners in the region and actually talk through what their objectives are and what they're trying to do and so on, and how they're using the iMasons platform to actually better communicate, better engage with some of their peers around some of the key topics. We know a lot of the things cannot be solved as just a single company, and being able to get them in and actually meet through the calls we organize, through the different initiatives that we've got. You also point out something that's very interesting to me. And at the beginning of the year, we said, look, we need to shift the timings of those calls. This is what we're doing today. We've now have some of the working groups are working actually on the APAC time zones exclusively, and actually enable some of those partners to be active regardless of where they are in the world. So it's very interesting to see the engagement actually happen away from the US and actually more in the regions, and those different perspectives being brought up, right?
Yep, indeed. Yeah.
And actually to bring that into perspective, I mean, you and I have already said before, EMEA and APAC are incredibly diverse. There is different partners, different ecosystems, different ways of actually considering the data center industry, different levels of maturity of the industry. So how does that diversity translate into opportunity for the iMasons community and the wider industry?
Yeah, I mean, as you know, I mean, I oversee EMEA and APAC at the moment, and I'm not sure if you can, get more diverse than that. I mean, if you look at Europe, Africa, the Middle East, APAC, and even separating India in APAC. I mean, the diversity is huge. I mean, on the diversity side, I mean, it's really transformed the digital infrastructure industry, kind of from a utility to more of a kind of a strategic asset. And these different needs, requirements in these kind of diverse regions create unique investment and these kind of innovation pockets, I guess. If you look at EMEA, we've seen a lot of moves forward on data sovereignty, which I have conversations about all the time when I attend events, and kind of sovereign cloud. So these are kind of creating a kind of a cloud hybrid model, and sovereign kind of ready data centers, which is really interesting to see in Europe. In EMEA, we've seen huge shifts towards kind of sustainability and the mandates around that, renewable energy. So if you look in the Nordics, we see a lot of kind of renewable energy based on wind farms. In MENA, huge amounts of solar. So companies now can kind of offer, I guess, net zero kind of compute power, and also, interestingly, kind of charge a premium for that. Regions like France, where I'm based, Germany, and the Nordics have huge expertise in the green tech side, and are really seen as the market leaders in terms of the climate change opportunities. Africa, if I take Africa and APAC, what always strikes you about these regions is the huge reliance on mobile and the kind of fintech applications around that. So they don't really kind of follow the traditional banking model, as it were. And if you look at the kind of the geographic spread and the population densities, certainly in APAC and Africa, I mean, in APAC alone, you're talking about over half the world's internet users. So and one of the challenges they had actually is the kind of traditional centralized data centers hitting latency issues. So the way around that is trying to place the compute in kind of more diverse cities within APAC to support the kind of high bandwidth needs that we're seeing now. In APAC, there's also, I mean, I certainly see slightly more flexible regulations for emerging tech. EMEA, certainly Europe, a bit more rigorous in that regard. So for APAC, this can kind of create a sandbox effect, that kind of flexibility of regulation and promote, growth, which we see at, a much higher speed. So I guess the bottom line is, you need to solve problems based on multi regions, and kind of, I guess, as it were, kind of cross pollination. Take the advantages of one region, and you can then, apply that to another.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and this is a discussion that we've had with some of our partners in EMEA and APAC for the next thought leadership call that we're having on the 5th of May, actually, around the different aspects of data center build outs, but also maybe some of the more I would say hidden currents that are happening within the data center industry, and things that are going on in Africa, in the Middle East, and the impact on innovation. There has been a true impact on the ability to create innovation, ingest innovations, run innovation in those different regions. And talking about innovation, I know you've been a strong supporter of innovation from the start. I mean, since your arrival, you and I have been talking about innovation all along. Do you see the role of innovation changing, or what do you see the role of innovation in iMasons, and why would members actually take an active part to play in innovation all along?
Yeah, I mean, I joined iMasons nearly 3.5 years ago, and I think that's when our paths first crossed back then. Yeah. And actually, we had a very keen focus on, three key initiatives, and one of those was, innovation. And innovation was maybe playing catch up with some of the other initiatives at that time. So I kind of feel that I was almost there from the start, but I know that you'd laid a lot of groundwork before that. So I kind of just jumped on your bandwagon, I guess. So yeah, I mean, innovation is very central, really, to if you look at the majority of iMasons initiatives. Innovations there at some level. Most of the conversations I tend to have, when I'm traveling, attending events, are around, power, sustainability, both of which, there's so many kind of innovative ideas and products around those focus areas now. And then from there, we also, see a lot of focus on the community, given the pushbacks we've seen in the community. And a lot of these innovations are certainly supporting those particular areas. On the power side, I mean, I see, there's some really interesting developments, of course, on power and density challenges, including things like AC to DC distribution, really interesting, battery energy storage systems, huge shift to, liquid cooling, both kind of direct to chip and immersion, waste heat reuse, which we've seen some great examples of that, and the opportunities that presents to kind of giving back to the community, which is very exciting. The water consumption side, seeing more kind of closed loop systems. So there's so much going on in this industry, and I think innovation is very much central to that. From our point of view, we always like to have the best people at the table, because we need to be able to try and solve the growth of data. And we've seen that year on year, and the iMasons State of Industry report will be released very soon. And so we're seeing that kind of forecasted growth become real. So we need to be able to solve the growth of data versus the consumption of resources. So there's a lot of discussions to be had around that. We have over 6,000 participants in iMasons, and of course we welcome more.
Of course. It's been interesting and probably worth mentioning as well that innovation doesn't act on its own, right? I mean, we've got very strong ties to the climate accords, very strong ties to the sustainability committee, to the people committee, because in reality, innovation is there to solve the problem sets that some of those other initiatives are flagging up. And so we go around and ask innovative companies, partners, members, and so on, like, how would you actually go and go and fix some of the more fundamental problems that the industry is trying to solve at the moment? And that said, talking about like asking members for input, I'd love to have your take. Watching from the EMEA and APAC corners of the world, what was the one thing they can do right now to get involved and be part of what's what we're building?
Well, the first thing I would say is go to iMasons.org and look at what we do and the opportunities there are to engage across a number of those initiatives. And like you said, innovation in itself is kind of like an umbrella. I mean, it touches the sustainability side, it touches the people side. So it's kind of an exciting focus area of what iMasons do. Now, there's many ways of joining iMasons. You can join as a partner member. So for our kind of corporate partners, we provide their employees with individual memberships, so they have an eligibility to join free of charge. So if you are on this call and you want to know if your company is already a partner of iMasons, just go to the website and check out our current corporate partner list. You can join as an individual member, and this is really for professionals already working in digital infrastructure, and they can join for $99. And then we have, of course, on your side, the Incubator Program, which is great because it means employees of startup companies who've obviously been working very closely with iMasons over the last 1 to 2 years. Those employees can actually join as individual members for free as well. We have a very large kind of allied partner platform and strategic alliances around that. Employees of those strategic alliance partners can join for free. We have associate members, so these are employees of governments, operations, students, if you work for non-profits, so they can join for free as well. For the current members and partners we have, what I would say is, iMasons attend a lot of global events around the calendar year. We have an active online event calendar. So if you go to the events page on iMasons.org, you can see that, and you'll see that we are literally everywhere on a global basis. And as a member, you can attend all the chapter events that we run globally, the member summits, that we run globally as well. So the next member summit will be at Data Cloud in Cannes in June, which is just around the corner. There's also opportunities to join the webinars that you run on the innovation side. And we also have discount agreements in place with a lot of the major industry event organizations, which is always welcome. So there are many opportunities and ways of joining iMasons. And I would just say, if you want to know more, check out imasons.org. And I'd just like to thank everyone who has participated in our innovation initiatives to date to make this a huge success.
Thank you very much, Rudolf. I must say, one of the first point of call every time I meet somebody who doesn't know iMasons is like, go and see the events calendar. It gives you so much and such a clean way of really understanding where you're going to meet the members, what things are going to be discussed, what we're going to be doing. I believe as well that there was an announcement made about the summer series for the Climate Accords for their webinars as well. So very, very interesting set of webinars run by Miranda Gardiner, that is the director for the Climate Accords. So yeah, we'll have just like she did last year, a series of webinars, just like we do. And again, if even with all this you still feel confused, innovation@imasons.org is always a place to go for you to ask the questions on what we do. Rudolf, it's been a pleasure having you this morning. In fact, thank you very much for sharing your insights on EMEA, APAC, the different partners, the ways to engage. It's as you know, I really like your inputs on everything we do. As much as all the other members to comms, regularly engage and build the relationships from there as part of their network. Thank you very much, Rudolf.
Thanks for inviting me, and I look forward to more growth on the innovation side and meeting all the new contributors to what we're doing.
Well, that's a perfect transition into what we're going to be we're just about to talk about. Thanks, Rudolf.
Thanks.
So before we move into what we're going to do next, as we close off the page of what we've been doing in the last quarter, I wanted to bring somebody very special today. In the world of innovations, there is a concept of hackathons. Hackathons are a very short period of creating ideas and creating innovation. I can't talk about it very well because I haven't gone through this very many times. But Angela Chan, who's been actually working with iMasons in the last few months in support of some of the activities, has been doing that a lot. She's the founder of Hackathons International. And I thought we would do best to actually bring her on the call today and ask her her perspective on innovation. Good morning, Angela. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me here.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I'm really excited about our discussions. It's one of the things that is rarely seen, rarely floated to the surface. If people don't know what hackathons are, it's not something that's widely publicized. So I'm really happy to bring that to the forefront. And also to link that into all the activities that iMasons is doing around innovation. So before we dive into the subject, do you want to present yourself and maybe explain to our audience who you are and maybe a bit of your background?
Absolutely. So my name is Angela, and I'm actually from Australia, and I've moved to the US about 5 years ago. And what I do is I run hackathons to enable talent. When I started going to hackathons about 15 years ago, I was the sole, I guess, person who didn't study computer science or engineering or IT or even business. But I went into hackathons with a problem to solve. At the time, I was volunteering at Cancer Council for New South Wales, and I knew there was an opportunity to raise money, not just for people with cancer, but also their family members. So my grandfather actually passed away with lung cancer. Um, and so at the time, I had a lot of ideas, and I saw that a lot of not for profits and charity organizations were using digital, not using digital ways, but we were calling VIP fundraisers, we were doing mail outs. And I was like, what if we use technology to help fast track this process? And I went to my first hackathon. It was insanely awesome. It was run by the Foundation of Young Australians, and I was sitting next to two people. One person was 13 years old, and he started his own gaming company and consulting firm around educating children around games. And then on the other side of me, I was just sitting next to a 15-year-old, and this 15-year-old, I was like, "What did you do last weekend?" And he told me, well, I got sent to go to the US to develop an app to help trucks with their safety in the evenings using satellite imagery. And I said to myself, what am I doing? How do I repurpose my life to do something that's meaningful and that I can leave a legacy on the world? And so I started doing hackathons. I caught the hackathon bug. I went to not just one or two, but I went to probably around 30 hackathons over the next 3 years. And to me, that was my second university degree. And hackathons are essentially competitive places where over a weekend you create something out of nothing. You go in with a problem to solve, and you come out with something tangible that you can show judges, mentors, people that you have a working prototype in your hands. And not a lot of people can do that. Not a lot of people can actually go in, meet a bunch of strangers, create something out of nothing, ideate, put wireframes together, develop a working solution. And so ultimately, hackathons are a competitive way to discover, design, and deploy working prototypes.
I mean, it's fantastic to hear, but it sounds almost too perfect to be true. I mean, we know that the process of innovation is actually very messy, isn't it? I mean, it's trial and error, it's tangents, it's rabbit holes, it's technology that doesn't work when it should, that works when we don't know why, and so on and so on, right? Can you paint maybe a more realistic picture of what a hackathon looks like, as people are trying to create something out of nothing?
Yes, and I guess the best phrase is that it's organized chaos, is what I describe hackathons to be. So usually at the start of the hackathon, I normally go in without having a team. So at the start, finding team members, ensuring that our values align. We want to work on something very similar. That's something that is everyone goes, how do you meet your teammates? And you kind of just need to put yourself out there. I remember going to the first couple of hackathons, but primarily my second hackathon. I actually went back to my University of Technology, Sydney, and I went in as an alumni. I didn't know anyone there, and it was run by the Programming Society. So I was definitely the sore thumb that stood out of everyone. And going in, it was very intimidating. I didn't have any experience coding, designing, but I knew how to pitch, I knew how to communicate. And I think I spoke to around 10 people before I decided who to really stick with and who really gelled with me. So I actually met this person, Darren, and he won some sort of mathematical competition from his home country in Vietnam. And I was like, okay, I think he is a very smart person. So I went with him. We got a couple of other people in our team, and it was just the first thing to figure out was what is the problem that we were trying to solve? And we all had different ideas, we had different perceptions. It was all around, actually, American Express sponsored the hackathon. So, how do we use payments more easily in a more tap fashion back in the day? And it was more, I think, in a hackathon, the reason why I would say it's organized chaos is because we have a goal and an outcome. We know we need to deliver something that's desirable, feasible, and viable, but getting there is just a lot of hoops.
Mhm.
During a weekend environment, you only have 24 to 48 hours, so you don't have a lot of time. You also don't have a lot of resources because you only have something that whatever's just put in front of you. It's not during a weekday, so you can't go and call people, on a Monday to Friday and be like, hey, can I try this or can I leverage this? But I remember going to hackathons and we were trying to solve a problem for cafe owners. And we actually went out on the streets and went to cafes down the road and asked them, what are the problems you face? What if this? What if that? And we actually trialed a solution with one cafe with the participants of the hackathon to see whether or not it would actually be a viable solution. And that really helped to understand what was the core problem and what was the root cause of the problem, and then finding a solution that made everyone happy. Because a lot of the time you're thrown in a situation, you don't really know who you're working with, but the core thing is you know what outcome you want to achieve. And having an outcome and having a strong vision and a mission is absolutely an essential part of developing something in a hackathon environment.
That's I love your portraying of how organized chaos is just happening on the space of 48 hours. I mean, we you and I have discussed actually your recent involvement in the LSU hackathon, where iMasons was actually supporting with some of the partners. It was interesting to me to see that not only do we have bright young minds looking at what's possible, we also have partners and organizations and members that are actually supporting with data, resources, access to knowledge, to information, to thought leadership, and so on, to help those teams, because those things don't happen in a vacuum, right? You need some ingredients of some form to actually get to a result. I'd love to take like your view on, what was possible in the space of 48 hours for some of the students at LSU, for example.
Yeah, so iMasons, along with with Grunfest, Elephant Voices, and Open Compute Project, we partnered with Southern Methodist University, so SMU in Dallas, Texas. We had 221 participants form 76 teams around two challenge statements in the digital infrastructure sector. So the first one was with Grunfest, and it was around rainwater harvesting and how to tackle the problem of the strain on water infrastructure, especially in commercial buildings. The teams were asked to prototype solutions around how to identify certain commercial and industrial buildings, also use satellite imagery and environmental data to assess the water and the water reuse potential, and also incorporate costs, regulatory, and sustainability considerations there. What blew our minds was that every team who did this challenge statement at least built some sort of working solution that Grunfist came in and said, wow, this is actually something that we would use in our day to day, and
Wow.
incorporating what the technology does into the company is something that we look forward to over the next couple of months. So we had quite a few teams go above and beyond as well, not just using, the one sort of data set, but using multiple data sets and doing something that's very valuable that would help with the sustainability aspect of our society and our community. The second challenge that we had was around elephant voices, and this was around understanding the bioacoustics, the noises, the spectrograms of how to isolate low frequency elephant rumbles, you could say. So, a lot of the time when biologists go out, they record elephant noises, but there's a lot of overlapping mechanical sounds, such as airplanes, cars, and generators. They also need to use spectrograms because of the the way that they speak to each other is
Mhm.
not something that the human ear can actually hear as well. So teams actually, what really impressed me, because I judged these teams, was we collected 44-ish audio recordings, and students had to analyze them and help decipher them. But they
Mhm.
also looked at open data sets from other zoos and other, I guess, YouTube videos as well. And it was really interesting that elephant sounds can be better defined, can be even more defined individually with each elephant and depending on the geography as well. And creating these smart audio libraries for elephant sound reduction was just incredible to see as well. So again, this project and a lot of these projects are being even further developed with Grunfist and also elephant voices in the near future.
As that's really cool. I mean, what happens to all those ideas? Because my thing is, okay, great, we do a hackathon. There is, as you said, 70 odd teams that comes and work on those things, but I would assume those people's got a life. They've had a lot of fun for 48 hours, and then the ideas are basically left there. I mean, unless a company wants to take them over and actually get people to work on them. I mean, this is somewhere where the iMasons incubator is coming in, where a valid idea can be batted around to make sure that it actually solves a problem and actually evolve. But what's the next steps? What comes out and where do those ideas go?
Yeah. So I think the first thing that you need to understand when facilitating and being a part of the hackathon is understanding the purpose of the hackathon. So with student-based hackathons, a lot of the time students want exposure and experience working on real problems that they
Mm,
might face in the workplace. So giving this challenge helps them with their skills and for them to get some exposure into the industry. So that's number one. Secondly, hackathons do brew many ideas, but not all the ideas are useful. Sometimes I say ideas are useless until execution is done. So, in that fashion, I would say that the next steps for the hackathon right now are two things. So, one, to understand if the students want to continue on with their solutions, and the winning teams have said yes. And then the second step is ensuring that there is sufficient handover and project time with the internal Grunfist and Elephant Voices, and if there is further development required, offering internships, offering contracts to ensure that they will be well integrated into what is done. So I think a lot of the time ideas can flourish. There are hundreds and thousands of ideas. We have ideas in the shower, we share ideas at the pub, and a lot of ideas are useful and a lot of ideas are could be very beneficial, but it's really the execution that matters. So having a engine where you do have the support team to carry it forward is
mm.
definitely a really solid next step after the hackathon to ensure that ideas are well facilitated and integrated into what into the platforms that they need to be.
It's such an interesting concept to have the supporting team. I mean, we've seen startups come through our incubator last year having a fairly good understanding of the problem set they wanted to solve, but not really how their solutions was going to be implemented in practice. And you're absolutely right. Actually, the supporting team is actually the wider network, is how people interpret, the innovation, the solution. How is it going to resonate? Is that going to fit well within the existing ecosystems? Is that going to displace something, dislodge something, disrupt something? And so yeah, it's I really like your concept of saying, like, you need the team. I think the team must be maybe a refined to, or maybe extended to, just a wider network and your capability of going and talking to a lot of people in places that actually matter. That's sort of where the incubator idea was coming 2 years ago. we're now evolving it to actually pushing that even further. Once a person has actually come through and said, all right, now I understand my problem set, I understand how that fits into the wider ecosystem. Does my solution actually fix what I'm trying to do? And there is a validation part that even comes after that. So we're going to have announcements actually coming through for the for the incubator on this. Tell me a bit more about the actual process that goes from like, okay, those ideas are being generated. How many of them carry them forward? I mean, some of them must be finding gold nuggets. If you've been able to follow some of the teams, follow some of the ideas, and go all the way to creating companies out of it. I guess this is part of the point, is that sometimes you just stumble upon something that's interesting enough to form a company on the back of it.
Yeah, I would say from a hackathon or even just innovation standpoint, it's important to learn. So fail forward and fail fast and move on. I think
Yeah.
the startup and founder process and developing a business is not a straight pathway. It is definitely you know how you say it's kind of like in a career standpoint, it's a career jungle. So it's very similar in the startup field. I remember for me, when I first started Hackathons Australia and Hackathons International, I had no idea what I was doing. I knew that there was something there because I went to so many hackathons and I met a lot of people with the same mindset of doing something that would be impactful to the world. And so I remember calling just everyone I knew, mentors, advisors, people who were very successful in their corporate jobs. And for me, for me, I guess Australia was a great testing ground to see what really worked and stuck. There were many instances where we're like, oh, maybe we should do hackathons for students, or maybe we should do hackathons for corporates, or maybe how about this, and what about this business model? And so I think for me, having and being part of an incubator process is very beneficial because it allows you to fail. And a
Yeah.
lot of the time, for investors, if they are looking to invest in startups or a new business, they're looking at who is the founder, what have they done, and what have they failed at? Because a lot of failures yield learnings, and this is where accelerated learning comes into play. So I think the incubation aspect is so important, nurturing ideas and having that safety net to ensure that everyone feels like they are progressing and learning in some sort of way. And I was kind of in circles for about 3 years. It's not just, a 2-week situation or a 3-month situation. It was 3 years for me, just really thinking about what do I really do? What is my vision? What is my mission? How are we going to turn this into a business? And so this accelerator process is really important because once you have the business model, once you have the product defined and created, you can go out and scale. And rapidly scaling is important, especially when you're seeking customers. A lot of the time when especially startups in the tech world, a lot of people are very technical and we like to do things and we like to build things, but selling is actually a very hard thing to do if you don't have that sales mentality or mindset. So having the iMasons community, having people to plug in and say, hey, let's try this out within our community. Let's try this out within our business. That is invaluable and something that I wish I would have had as I was building Hackathons International out. And that took about 10 years to really get it to where it is right now.
Yeah, we actually intend to keep the flow going for those companies that want to really refine their models and continue building. Angela, I can't thank you enough for coming in and actually sharing your thoughts on hackathons today. I really wish you all the best and hope to see you around all the iMasons sessions and your involvement within the different activities that we've got. Yeah, it's been fantastic to discover this, not something that I've been part of, and discover where ideation actually comes from.
Thank you for having me, Romain.
All right, thank you, Angela. Well, you've actually heard it here. The ideation process is a flow. It's a continuous thing that happens all the time, and there are people that specialize in generating those ideas, so that actually we can all benefit from innovation. Thank you very much again, Angela, for coming and sharing your insights. And as we turn to the second part of the meeting, I wanted to bring you on to the next quarter, driving until the end of the year. I can't believe it. It's already been 4 months of iMasons activities. You can see all the stuff that's been grayed out already. It's been great fun. You've heard so the output's already ongoing, but we've still got a lot more to get on with. We've already got a innovation a thought leadership meeting happening next week on Tuesday. We've got more working groups happening. We've got one tomorrow on the Incubator platform. And what you can see on the map here is the same slide that I presented back in January. And the plan's still the same. And we know more meetings are going to come and fill up the space. This is there is already discussions about more things happening, which is great. And this is exactly what we want to do. I want all of you to see this as an opportunity to come and connect with your peers, come and meet more people, and actually have inputs into all of the things the Innovation Committee is actually doing. And if you want to find out exactly where to find the APA events and the more the events that you can participate, where you can come and listen to, by all means, you can go to imasons.org/events. And then there you can sign up to all of the different events, like Meet the Startups, the Thought Leadership events, as well as the Innovation Unwrapped, as we're having right now. But that's not it. So the Thought Leadership Group, now that they've defined all of their trade-offs, is actually looking at what next. So we've got a survey coming out around the blockers of innovation, as well as a white paper that we're working on around the speed of constructions and what are the key blockers to the speed of constructions. Those two were from the thought leadership team actually voted as the two bigger trade-offs that we wanted to start with as we continue evolving. So this will end up being one on a white paper. The other one, the survey, will have some communications on the back of this. So expect to see the survey being communicated through the main iMasons channels, but also some of the work that we're doing with the different chapters around the world. As we capture that information, we'll be sure to actually send you back and communicate on all of the information that we receive. On the AI to grid, very interesting developments here. I talked about it earlier and brushed over it, but we're actually now getting closer to understanding the grid. This is our next phase. So if you're interested in this and you really want to understand how the connections from data centers to the grid is taking place, but you really want to hear from a grid perspective what they're seeing, how they're managing this, how queues for requirements are being managed, and what might be the things that they look at first, what are their priorities and their commitments and so on, then this is the right place for you. We're going to spend a couple of sessions on this before we turn our attention to actually looking at what innovations might be answering some of the concerns of grid operators. All of that's taking place in open groups. You can actually sign up to those ones, and you'll have a QR code at the end that you can scan and actually go and attend. For the startups, we've got an exciting month of May. We've got another 4 assessment sessions for startups, so that's going to take care of the remaining 8. The more I talk to people, the more I'm being told that they want to push more startups into our incubator, which is great. And I really can't thank people enough for putting themselves forward and sharing the words on what we're doing. We always find some really interesting concepts, really interesting companies coming forward, and just requiring that helping hand to actually connect to the right people and actually validate or refine the ideas that they're working on, which is exactly what we're here to do. So on those ones, if you want to participate, you can be part of the working group. Again, we're refining the decisions, the models, the assessments of what we do with those companies. But also feel free to share actually the webpage on our website that actually explains to startups how to be part of it. Also, we've got, as I said, 4 sessions next week. Part of the QR code I'm going to share at the end, you'll be able to sign yourself up to be part of those assessment sessions if you want to. Just receive the invites. It's really on a voluntary basis if you want to listen to what the startups have got to say. And then as we receive the feedback, that forms actually the decisions for us to accept or decline those startups to be part of the actual incubator. So last but not least, before we talk about engagements, this is our standard slides. This is the one that you see everywhere, every meeting. We want to make sure that you're well informed about everything that's going on, not just innovation. Innovation is a part of a bigger set of events that are taking place. So you can see, so the innovation meetings being in London. I'm very looking forward to the April 30th I Am Women EMEA. I'm actually sending a few people there to go and network. This is such an important part of what we do. You can see that there is an I Am Women in Denmark happening on the 28th. There is more meeting happening across the world, and we couldn't put anything past beyond the 5th of May because there are so many events. And again, you can find them all on our events page on the website. As for the Innovation Committee, thought leadership happening on the 5th of May. We've got Meet the Startups on June 30th. We've got another thought leadership on July 21st. So there is loads of different things happening within this. In there is not represented also all of the meetings that are taking place for the working groups. So there are very specific cadence for the working groups to me, and of course, you're more than welcome to actually come and participate into those. So how do you get there? Well, I'll try to make it as simple as possible. If you scan the QR code that you've got here on the page, you'll be brought to a form that summarizes all the ways to actually engage with the Innovation Committee. You've got 5 examples here, which is the main 5. Either attend any of the meetings. If you're already on the call live here, you will have, to some extent, looked at the iMasons calendar and signed up. If you want to join one of the working groups, there is a specific engagement form for you to fill up so that we know exactly what groups you can come in, and we'll automatically send you all the invites. If you're a specialist in your field and you want to come and speak at a thought leadership meeting, or you want to be featured on a podcast, again, this is the form for you to go and fill up. And then if you are a startup and you want to apply to actually be part of the incubator, again, the link is under the QR code that we've got here. So all of this, I'm just going to leave it there for another minute, but all of those ways are our way to thank you for all the commitments and the things that you do. We want to make it easy for you to come in and participate in our activities, and that way we wanted to make it as simple as possible for everyone to gain access to what we're actually doing. There is a platform called Mobilize, which again is where we stored all the documents that we talked about on the first parts of the meeting. If you're not logged in on that one yet, then by all means, just let us know. I'm going to give you a couple more things for you to reach out to us. First of all, innovation@imasons.org is always a great way to communicate with us. It is a mailbox that we look at every day. This is our working mailbox, so you will being able to talk to the team, and also you will find more information for the Innovation Committee directly on the web pages, and that explains the different activities that we do. There is nothing left for me to say apart from, and I'm always very keen to do this, a big thank you to everyone that supports the committee on a regular basis. We've got Eleanor, Asa, Store, Gina, and all the other people that gravitate around, that actually feed inputs and feedback into what we're doing. And those discussions are very important because they structure the way we do our community. So a big thank you to everybody, and I look forward to another fantastic quarter up until the next Innovation Unwrapped, which will take place in September. Thank you very much, everybody, and see you all very, very soon.